voted. If you'd like to vote, go ahead and leave me a comment and let me know what you'd like to talk about. You can also check out in the description where there's a link to my Facebook group, and that's where the weekly poll happens. So I'm very excited because this week is special. Sorry, Emma, you got outvoted again. um, this week was a write-in, and the write-in was how to apply awakened energy to everyday life and still have fun. So this is a very interesting topic. Thank you, Miss Anna Christina. You always have such interesting questions for me. I love that. So I think first what we should do is talk about what is awakened energy? What does that mean for you? What is awakening? What is enlightenment, right? If you're awakening, what are you awakening to? And from what? Slumber. And if you're enjoying some type of enlightenment pursuit, what does that mean? Enlightenment. I think we have these um, constructs that we haven't really put a lot of language to, that somehow this is some like exalted state of spiritual mastery of some kind. But I would like to posit that perhaps we should focus, as one of my favorite master teachers, Maestra Anita, said, enlightenment, to be enlight, right? Awakening, to awaken, but to what? To yourself, right? Just to yourself, to your essence. Without, for me, that means to be in your own essence, minus the constructs and the programming and the conditioning and the life experiences that have turned you into something that maybe you weren't really originally. And I think for our entire lives, we come into this earth and we have childhood experiences, and then we spend the rest of our lives overcoming those childhood experiences. So perhaps enlightenment can mean being lighthearted, right? If we look at the ultimate position of mastery of pretty much any great wisdom tradition, it all leads us to the same thing. We all know what those qualities are. We know what that means. We know, what those spirit ideals are: compassion, love, forgiveness, patience, generosity, kindness, love. Did we say that one already? And also a joy. Joy is huge. Joy is a huge part of that story. And I think, see, the dog agrees. Different dog this time, huh? So I feel like joy is probably one of the highest points of spiritual mastery. And I've met a lot of great, can you hear the dog? Oh, I'm done. I've met a lot of really incredible master teachers out there. And how are you? I'm great, thank you. How are you doing? And some of them are joyful and fun, and some of them are, wow, can you hear that dog? Why are you doing? If he barks, no, it's not a husky. They bark because at night we have and also in the daytime we have a earthquake siren that goes off. Oh, thank you, Linda. And the dogs like to bark along with the siren. It happens every day. It's like their thing to do. It's a poodle now. I don't know what they are. They're just dogs. They're great. They're super cute. They're always around. They're pretty little, I guess probably medium-sized dogs, but anyway. So the idea, right, is it's joy. And can you speak Hindi? No. No. Discontinued version of Princess Leia. Oh, but thank you. It is the Revenge of the Sixth today, or a sixth. I do love Star Wars. So, these, for example, apex experiences with spirituality, they're called spiritual ecstasy moments, right? Ecstasy is bliss. It's joyful. It's supposed to be joyful. It's supposed to feel good. And I've met all kinds of great spiritual teachers, people who worked for many years with the Dalai Lama. I've met, gurus. I've met yogis. I've met, shamans. I've met priests of various traditions and priestesses. I've met so many really amazing healers and teachers and medicine people and all kinds of varieties. Maybe it's not just a drill. It actually sounds like an earthquake. Very interesting. That happens sometimes. Earthquakes are, yeah, or maybe actually an earthquake. I am currently right now in Chile. So California, if you go Alaska to California and then further down, that's where I am right now, in the middle of Chile. Right there on the Ring of Fire. There's been a lot of motion around here recently. It's been interesting. A little sketchy, slightly sketchy. So in some of these great teachers, yes, Chile. Some of these great teachers are funny, joyful, and silly. And some of them are like very sincere and very full of, their, um, you doubt it? What is Chile like? Well, it's cold right now. It's becoming winter. It's very beautiful though. Are you from California? No, my family's from Louisiana and I'm from Florida. Yeah. A lot more warm and humid than it is here, and minus earthquakes. So I think it's important to notice that whether you choose to be very, very spiritually aligned with this awakening energy or not, isn't the highest position of these, or the highest expression of these great wisdom traditions is joy, right? The highest expression is, the nose ring hurt? Is it for your little trick? No, I just like it. No, not really, but thanks. You like it? Um, I feel like sometimes I'm asked, like, what do I do now, especially when someone's coming out of ceremony? Thinking of buying a timeshare and shit. It's very beautiful. It's also cold. If you like it cold, it's perfect, but it's very beautiful, especially on the coast, which most of the whole country is. um, I forgot what we're. So I was happy. I don't know about that. Forgot where we were. Enlightenment experiences, right? That's right. So sometimes when people come out of ceremony, they ask, like, how do I be now? How do I be a spiritual being in the modern world? So may the force be with you. Then the answer to that question is just like, go be, right? Be the way you were being before, just be, right? Be in the world. And for someone who is not spiritually inclined, but they're still living out all of those qualities, are they not still expressing the highest expression of that experience anyway? So is that not also that? Very similar to California. I do not know. I do not know. So God bless you. Thank you. God bless you too. So I feel like we put so much emphasis on this feeling of like awakening or enlightenment. But I think when we break it down and define what does that really mean? Like, what's that for? What's the point? Then we just really focus on those qualities. Then I don't think it's a matter of being spiritual and still having fun. The Buddha talked about child mind. He talked about one of the highest expressions of spirituality being wonder, right? The like childlike wonder, childlike openness, childlike innocence. And we talked about even the Bible talks about innocence and how Christ's mind is innocence from sin. Well, what does that mean? Sin is something learned, right? So when we talk about how do I live an awakened life in the world, like just exhibit those qualities and be with them, and your world will meet you. Your world will meet you too. I think sometimes when South America is sketchy. Anywhere is sketchy depending where you are, I think. I'm in a very beautiful place, so I don't think it's very sketchy. But then again, that's what we're talking about. Whatever you choose to be with, that's what it is that you're going to find. So, we all know that guy who's like super cranky and cantankerous and hello, Ivy. Avi? That's then things always happen to this person, but for someone who's very focused on just being in joy and meeting new people and being open to learn and being flexible in their what makes them happy and not being so rigid and needing things to be a certain type of way, being less neurotic, then it is that I think is the key to spiritual living anyway. So if we choose to be with what in those awakening qualities are, I think that leads directly to fun. I think you're supposed to have fun. If we look at like the sincerity in the Buddhist teachings, for example, it's about fun and joy, right? And even when we look at like heavy medicine disciplines like ayahuasca, for example, ultimately you're supposed to be liberated, but for what purpose? To enjoy your life, to enjoy spiritual ecstasy. It's supposed to feel good. We're supposed to have a good time. And there's so much science now, because I love integration, right? So how do we bring the old and the new together? These ancient wisdom traditions are saying the same thing as this modern research. When we liberate ourselves and move towards joy, this is not only better for our brains and our bodies and our health and wellness, it also lends us to more creativity, more spirituality, more objective perspective, right? And so these are qualities like, I like actually, yeah, these are qualities or practices like forgiveness and gratitude. It's supposed to lighten us up a little bit, enlightenment, right? And what it can do to our brainwave function brings us into a state of creativity and of ease and of joy. It's supposed to be joyful. So um, I don't think it's really a question of how do you be with awakening or enlightening energy and still have fun. I think if you're really focused on what those qualities really mean, then that is fun. You should be having fun. And I think if you're too serious, seriousness comes from now, sincerity is one thing. I'm very sincere, but I think seriousness is overrated, right? So the seriousness is what? Taking things very seriously, taking yourself very seriously. And this is not what I think would be like, enlightenment or awakening. I think we would awaken to the truth that we're the creators of our reality, that we're living a life of our own making, that we get to choose our internal world all the time. And isn't that liberation exciting, right? That is joyful. And if you don't find liberation to be joyful, then I don't know, maybe just lean on the Buddhist teachings of open mindedness and play, right? Play. Creativity is play. Creativity is divine inspiration. When we're following our passions that come from that divine inspiration or from wherever else you feel your passions come in from, then isn't that joyful, right? Shouldn't all of that feel good? Shouldn't that be joyful? So, if you're doing things that are joyful and you're living in a way that feels clear and joyful and simple to you, and you're sharing that with the world around you, and the world is coming back with you with that, isn't that also having fun, right? So I think being silly, being lighthearted, being playful, all of these things are part of that enlightened and awakening energy. And sometimes when I meet people who are going through a phase of very rigorous spiritual pursuit, and that is you yell my name. Yell, I don't know, but I'll say it out loud, Nate. Being happy is important. Yes, it so is. I think it's super important. And not only is it important, I think sometimes in our modern Western culture, we perceive happiness as a product of circumstance and a reaction to our world, but I really feel like it's the other way around. And deep spiritual pursuit will teach this. All the great wisdom traditions teach it, and any deep inner work will also teach you this. You are responsible for your own internal environment, and no one can tell you one way or another. Even Nelson Mandela said something along the lines of, even when he was incarcerated, he never felt of himself not free, right? Because he knew that in his own internal environment, he was in command there. And yes, obviously, external circumstances affect our internal environment, but I feel like there does come a point where we take responsibility for that internal environment and we choose happiness. We do happiness instead of feel happy in response to an external stimulus. I think that's the problem with um, like consumerist culture. We have this fixation on like, well, if I buy something, then I'll be happy. If I get that person in my life, I'll be happy. If I have this thing, then I'll be happy. If I have this achievement or this piece of paper, then I'll be happy. But happiness doesn't really come from externally. So that's why we get that like fix, that little bliss, that satisfaction, but then we need more and we need more and we need more, and it never ends. Happiness is inside job, as they say, right? So I think when you're really focused on your internal environment and that personal sovereignty that comes from freeing yourself from being moved by the external world, and that is the ultimate goal of wisdom traditions and spiritual pursuit. Is meditation is one of those tools we like to use, right? Meditation is not a and I'm even in the modern Western world now, we understand the value of it from a scientific perspective. Lots of Fortune 500 companies have meditation practices and mindfulness exercises inside their corporate workplace. Like this is now baked into our culture, even at very high levels, and even very like corporate government levels. There's even this is coming in there, so we see the value of it. So it's uh, wow, you guys are really on it with the chat today. It's very interesting. If you have questions, let me know. um, I love you. I love you too. Volk, I like that. I love you too. So meditation is the tool to help us with that internal discovery. So the meditation isn't the goal of the practice. The practice is there to practice what? Is to practice introspection. It's to practice objectivity. It's to practice that internal sovereignty. It's to choose your emotions and observe your thinking and notice that you are an observer of your life experience. You're not, you and your body is not all that you are. You're so much bigger than all of that too. And to observe your thinking rather than become attached to the thoughts as we would also become attached to external stimuli, right, and external circumstances. We like to identify with external circumstances, and this is not really this is not the way, right? It's not the way. So I think when we engage with practices like this, parameditation or yoga or going for a run or walking the dog or hanging out with friends in a playful and joyful and creative way, pursuing our passions, these are also an extension of our spirituality and our awakening and enlightenment. When we awaken and enlighten to what it is our passion is, then this is supposed to be fun. It's supposed to be joyful. So I don't think it's really one or the other. How do you have awakening and how do you have fun? I think that the spiritual journey includes difficulty because one, we believe we need it, and two, because we spend our adult life overcoming childhood issues. And so we have to move through sometimes heavy things to free ourselves into what? Into liberation, into sovereignty, and into joy, into having fun. So I work as a medicine worker. I'm a healer. I work with a lot of clients. I have a lot of heavy cases that come through my practice, especially because a lot of my clients come to me because modern Western methods have failed them, right? So, it's a lot of heavy work. And I do everything from medical evals to, energy healing to medicine work, like ayahuasca service, etc. And I am all the time asked, like, how is that for you? Is that really heavy for you? And the answer is no. No, it's not, because the spiritual path is supposed to be one of joy, right? Of lightheartedness. And so I'm grateful to serve. I'm grateful to help someone's life be better. And I don't need to take on, what someone else is carrying either. And that's really important. And I feel like that's something I meet when I work with other teachers and other healers. That they're picking up stuff from their clients, and this is unskilled, right? I know it's probably going to ruffle some feathers, right? But we're not really taught this. We're taught, oh, I'm an empath and that's a good thing. I'm picking up everybody's stuff. That means I'm intuitive. You need to learn how to not do that, right? And when you learn to not do that, then you don't have to bear the weight of what it is that's coming on from around you, and from your clients. But this is true of anyone in any function in life. We have people around us and circumstances around us. Anyone can flip on the news and see something horrible happening, right? That's what the news shares, is the horrible things. So there's lots of it. If you look at it and if you care to wear it, then you can. But when you remember that you are in, I poke, when you remember that you're in sovereignty to yourself, what are you awakening to? The reality of your own personal sovereignty. What is enlightenment? Moving into, basking in the light of your own nature and your own self, your own truth, real truth, without the life circumstances, without the damage, without the baggage, without all of that, then, oh, thank you. Then what you have is joy. What you have is lightheartedness. What you have is play. What you have is fun. What you have is what kids have. Little kids, they have the joy. Wow. What you have is the joyful, innocent play, open-minded, creative, inventive, imaginative wonder of a child, when everything is amazing and new and exciting every day. And you don't see kids going down the street like complaining, oh crap, it's raining again, I forgot my umbrella. No, they see a puddle, they want to jump in it. Let's go dance, let's go play in the rain. And I think that playfulness, that innocence, is something we unfortunately lose as we grow and age. You don't meet a whole lot of curmudgeonly little kids. They want to just goof off and have fun. And I think they are a little closer to their spirit than we are as we age. We start learning how the world is and the way things are and the way things have to be and the rules, and we grow out of the innate wisdom that we come in with. And I think the spiritual path leads us back to that innate wisdom, which has joy and play baked into it. So I think it is supposed to be happy, and it is supposed to be ecstatic, and it is supposed to be blissful. And these are all qualities always associated with spirit anyway, in most wisdom traditions that I've studied, which is many, very old and newer ones too. The Abrahamic traditions are a little bit newer, but some of the old indigenous practices also contain this idealization of wonder and joy and passion, and that it's important. And some even say that that spark that ignites you to pursue your interests, that little passion that's in there, that is given by spirit. That is your unique purpose and calling card and spark of life that moves you through this world, and it is supposed to be joyful, right? It's supposed to be joyful. So I think first it would be worthwhile to ask yourself, what does that awakening energy mean to you? What does enlightenment mean to you? What would that mean? And that doesn't mean you have to go around like wearing long flowing robes with a stick up your butt. It means that you can live your life as you see fit and do it in alignment with those qualities, whether you have a deep spiritual practice or you don't. I've met very young children, and I've met like very oblivious adults too, who don't pursue spirituality or awakening, and yet they are living out every single one of those qualities to which we aspire. So isn't that beautiful? All right, that's the way it's supposed to be. That's innocent, right? Isn't that nice? So curmudgeonly, yes, I did. I like that word. um, so if you can live with that joy and play and love in your heart, then, and openness of mind and compassion and patience and non-judgment and all of those wonderful qualities, then you should be having fun. You should be living in joy. And if you're finding yourself unable to be in joy, unable to have fun, then I think it might be worth revisiting what you think in terms of what's really necessary for a very spiritual path, what's necessary for being a very good person. I think some religions have created such strict behavioral boundaries that it's difficult for someone to explore who they really are by nature. And I think that this creates a sort of a sincerity that's maybe overbearing when it comes to religion, and this can cause it to suck all the fun out of life, right? I think prayer should be fun and joyful. I think spirituality should be fun and joyful, and it should feel good, right? So you have to decide what that is to you, what that means to you, and that is really an introspection question. How do you live life with that awakening energy and still have fun? So that is your question brought by the vote, the weekly vote. Thank you for who wrote it in, Miss Anna Christina, and for who voted for it. I don't remember who voted for it also. I think it was Chrissy, probably Chrissy. It's a very good question and definitely caught me off guard. I never really know what the topic's going to be, so I love how you challenge me to show up in fullness. And switching from Facebook to YouTube is really exciting because the comment thread is really different. I used to be a Catholic but lost my faith. I'm the dark side. Dark side. What does that mean to you? I would love to hear that in the comments. So if you would like to participate in the vote, leave me a comment and tell me what you think would be another interesting topic that you would like to hear about. We come here every week to gather together, to share. So please leave your comments. Thank you. It is like Princess Leia hair, right? I didn't think about that when I put it up. I just wanted it to dry faster. So I think it would be very sweet also if you want to look in the comments. There's my Facebook group. That's where the poll goes every week. If you want to participate in community focused on growing and healing and learning together, I think that's really nice too. And so you'll find that information in there. And definitely leave me some comments. Share with me, what do you feel like defines awakening? What do you feel like defines enlightenment, and how do you reconcile fun with these deeply sincere and profound qualities and pursuits? I would love to hear your answer for that. I love you very much, and I am already looking forward to seeing you next week.